recording? Great. Welcome, everybody, to the first session of 2025. Let's go back and look at our minutes from the December 9th meeting, where I think we were all present. Anybody have any concerns about the minutes as reported by Mel?
No, look good.
If not, we'll deem them accepted. Thank you, Mel.
Okay.
Let's go right into the comp programs report.
All right, one moment while I get that pulled up. All right, has everybody seen the report for December?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Thank you for confirming. So in the month of December, you can see that on the left-hand side, we spent the most on homicide claims, totaling roughly about $7,500, followed by aggravated assault, spent a total of about $2,100. On the right, for the month of December, you'll see that by service type, we spent the most on funeral expenses, just under $5,000 for the month. And then second to that was medical facility, where we paid about a total of $2,100. In the month of December, we made payments on 26 compensation claims and 4 sexual assault claims, and total for both programs was $16,703.34. Any questions on this first form?
No.
All right, next we'll move into the year-to-date. All right, so on the screen on the left-hand side, for the current fiscal year from July 1st of 24 to the end of December, we spent the most on homicide claims, a total of just over $58,000, followed by domestic assault, just under $48,000. In that same time frame, we spent the most on funeral expenses, totaling about $42,000, followed by rent and relocation, in which we spent about $32,000.
Ooh.
Comparing that to the prior fiscal year, so July 1st of 2023 through the end of December 2023, homicide claims were also still the top expense type by crime. We had paid a total of $71,000, followed by domestic assault. We had paid about a total of $50,000. Comparing that to the cash disbursements by service type for the prior fiscal year, we spent the most in lost wages, an average of about $47,000, followed by medical facility, totaling about $40,000. Comparing the two year-to-date calculations, we are seeing a difference of about $24,000 overall. So while December's expenses do look lower than previous months, we're not too far off from the overall calculation. Any questions on this form? Alrighty, so one moment while I move into the next one. All right, so now you should be seeing our claims by county. For the month of December, we did receive a total of 23 claims. We did not receive any from Addison, Caledonia, Essex, Grand Isle, or Windham counties. And Chittenden County was the highest number of claims received, but as you can see for December, it's about half of what we received on average from Chittenden. I would attribute that most likely to the holiday and a lot of time taken by a lot of our victim advocates. Scrolling down, we can see the comparison year to date for the prior year. We had received 31 claims for the month of December. So that attributes a total of 25.81% of a decrease. Total claims year to date, July 1st of 24 through the end of December, was 227. Comparing that to the prior fiscal year, that number was 238. So overall, seeing a 4.62% decrease for victims' compensation claims. Down below that, you'll see the sexual assault program totals. For the month of December, Allison received a total of 29 claims. Comparing that to the prior fiscal year, she had received a total of 16. So that does appear for the month of December to be a 81.25% increase. But when you compare those totals for the current fiscal year compared to the prior fiscal year, you're seeing a 1.65% decrease overall. Any questions on this one? All right. So lastly, we just have the year-to-date calculation. So this shows you current fiscal year numbers from each county. And any questions on this final one before I pass it over to, I believe, Michelle?
No, thank you, Maria.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, please stop sharing. Great. Michelle, let's see. There you go.
Let's see. Okay, so you should be seeing the restitution board summary for December. So it looks
Yep.
like we brought in a total of $53,178.54, though that exceeded our goal by about $5,100. So for those of you who have been around for a while, usually December is a really short month for us, meaning we typically do not hit our goal. We're usually closer to like 30 to 40,000, and that's it. So it's really exciting that we were able to still hit our goal in December. And so far this fiscal year, we've hit or exceeded our goal each month. So that's great. We didn't bring in any tax money in December, but that's pretty typical. It tends to slow down this time of year, and we'll pick back up in February when people start filing. In December, we advanced $26,270 to individual victims of crime from our restitution fund. And that is a total of about $174,000 for the fiscal year to date. So that's a pretty decent number. So we're really happy with that and the amount that we're able to send out to individual victims up front. And overall, we were able to send out 320 payments to victims of crime in December. Any questions with that? Okay. Let's do the next one. So you should be looking at the RJO numbers at this point. So we received a total of 87 statewide. So that is on par. We're kind of seeing in every other month, kind of we'll be at like 80, like 80s to 90s one month, and the next month we bump up to over 100. I contribute that in part to Chittenden County. It seems like they get a little assistance and our numbers bump up. And then the next month, they're kind of caught up and we don't get as many, and then they get behind again. And then they bump up a little bit. As you can see, there's 36 orders for Chittenden County last month, 12 in Rutland, so they're the second highest. And then we didn't get any from Addison, Essex, or Grand Isle. And overall, we're continuing to see, it used to be we were pretty much 50-50 for individual orders and business orders. And over the last year and a half, we're definitely seeing it not playing out that way. We're definitely getting way more orders for businesses. And part of that is really Rutland County. We're definitely getting more orders for them. And a lot of them tend to be retail theft, which for a while they weren't sending orders to us for retail theft cases. But I feel like Chittenden County, Washington County, we're kind of seeing that same sort of switch. Those counties with like a large business population, we're definitely seeing more retail theft cases and RJOs for those. So that's definitely been a shift from what we've been typically used to. Any questions with that? Okay. So before I stop, I just want to let you know that Maggie had retired in November. And since then, we've sort of been on the search for a new case manager. It's been a little bit clunky. We offered the position to somebody, but they took a different job. So we opened the search back up, and we actually just hired somebody that they're going to start next Wednesday. Her name is Vanessa Brown. That will not be her name here, but that's her name in real life. So we're excited for her to start, and we'll certainly have her attend the February board meeting so you can meet her. Bob, I'm not sure if you know her or not, but she's actually an attorney. So she had her own practice. She currently lives in Montpelier. I don't know if she's always practiced there where she had her practice, but
The name was familiar as soon as you said it, but I don't know that I do know her.
right. Yeah. So I think she did like a lot of evictions, estates, that sort of thing. But yeah, so she's no longer practicing. She's been working at a bank for a while doing some like escrow stuff, and she's excited to come on board. So we're happy to have her.
Right.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Michelle, Carol, you ready to give us all kinds of good news?
You're asking a lot of me, Bob.
Hey, it's the first thing I asked for this whole year.
All right, I think I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So December marks halfway through the year. So it's really a good kind of place to be, kind of understanding where we are. We are seeing that the revenues are up from last year in the comp fund, and that's what you're seeing here, is that we are seeing that we're about $75,000 more than we were last year, which is a good indicator that the new fines and fee structure are being deposited into the fund. The concerning part, unfortunately, is that if we go up a little on here, is that although we're bringing in revenues, that we're still not meeting our goals as far as, again, we're 6 months into the year. We have an appropriation of 1.5, and based on my projections, it looks like if we keep up at the current levels, we're only going to be bringing in a little over $1 million, which again, unfortunately, leaves us this beautiful red number. That means that we're not going to be bringing in revenues. This isn't something new. We again continue to monitor this to see where we are in our appropriation. We are pretty sure that the estimates from the JFO for the revenues coming into the fund are not going to be anywhere near what their projections were. So again, we'll continue to monitor that. That's what's so important about these board meetings, is to be able to look at our financial reports and kind of determine how the funds are doing. What you're seeing is, again, across the board, unfortunately, that here we are halfway through the year. We should be at this 50%, and you can see that our funds are in the 31s, 39, and 41. So again, we're not seeing the revenues that we'd like to see. This isn't new news, because we know that we've seen a decrease the past several years of about 47%. So although we look at the numbers, we can see that, and again, this is a little skewed by the fact that restitution had a large deposit in 2024. So that's why this really, again, as Michelle said, they're making their goals, but this doesn't give that picture of that. The DVSE fund was also the fund that received some new revenues in 2025, additional marriage license fees, and also additional general fund fees. We are seeing a slight increase there, but as you can see, I'm still projecting based on the current revenues that we have received year to date, that fund too may not be able to support the grants that are going out. The other thing is the comp. So what I'd like to go to is comp by type. I think I'm gonna have a meeting with the comp program. As you know, Kiki retired, but one of the things that I'm noticing is that our numbers tend to be different. So you hear the comp report and it says that they had $16,000 in payments during the month of December. And then you look at my report and you see that it's 10,000. We talked about this in the past. A lot of it's a dating thing, and we're gonna try to make sure that going forward, our reports should match. And so that, again, what they're entering in their reports is matching to what is actually paid through the state with vision. So that being said, you can see that our numbers are off a bit from what they've said. What we are seeing, though, is that payments to comp are down. So what you're noticing is that I budgeted about $350,000 to pay out to victims, compensation claims, and we've only used about 206,000, and we're halfway through the year. Now, the challenge is that, as I've talked about, we always try to spend as much of this $350,000 budgeted so that we can get that 75% reimbursement back. But at the same point, I have to be very mindful that we also have the VOCA comp grants, and those grants have to be used within a certain time frame. So basically, the VOCA comp grant that we're going to be using, that I just asked to switch over to federal funds, has to be used by September of this year. So I've asked Mel to switch it over so that all of our comp claims are being paid with federal funds in order to make sure that we're utilizing all of those federal dollars. And because we are not spending at nearly the level we were previously, I'm doing that now in January so that we can use all of those VOCA funds by September. So again, we'll continue to monitor that, but I feel that because I'm not seeing the levels of spending, as you can see again, at 200,000 halfway through the year. So that's why I've switched over, because we have about, I think, 249,000 to use up in the next 9 months. So that's why I'm switching it over now, to make sure that we utilize all of the federal dollars that we possibly can. As I've mentioned, it will mean that next year's VOCA comp grant will be less, but that's kind of how we've always been. 1 year it's a little more, 1 year it's a little less, depending on how much we have in the VOCA comp grant. So that being said, that's kind of the big thing. Then I like to go to our fund balances. Again, what we're seeing is that, we're seeing that the funds are going down. Not surprising, right? That we're going to see that, again, the revenues are going down. Expenses, as we all know, tend to go up, or at least stay a little closer. But when your revenues are down, it's creating, obviously, deficits in some of these funds. You can see year to date what we've brought in, what we've spent out, and where we are. So you can pretty much see that across the board, that's what we're seeing. January is a grant payment month. So again, we're going to see more increases in the comp fund, especially where there'll be some grant payments going out. So again, I think it's important to understand that we continue to monitor this. I mean, the center for many years now has done a good job keeping operating costs down. I mean, year after year, if you look at our overall budget, we've continued to do that. But of course, we have very little control over personnel and benefits, as you all know. With healthcare this year, personnel and benefits increased substantially. So again, we're just going to keep our eye on it. We'll have conversations. Jen and I will be doing our budget meeting here in the next few months and have these conversations. They usually do want to know what our special fund receipts are, so we're able to provide them. I mean, I honestly go back to, I think, 2012 every time I give them the projections. so that they know how much these funds have decreased over the last decade. So sorry, Bob, not happy news, but again, I think we're doing all that we can with the funds that we have at this time, and we'll continue to monitor. You know, the good news, I guess, would be that we are seeing those increases in the fines and fees from the general fund. So we are seeing that going into the funds. It's just not what JFO projected. Even though if you asked me 2 years ago, I didn't think that it would. So unfortunately, it was one of those cases where I would have been glad to be wrong, but we are seeing that we're just not seeing the amount of funds going into those.
Okay. No surprise there, I guess. Thank you.
Sure.
So I think the next thing on our agenda is we hear from Jen.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. A little late, obviously. Obviously, for us, the funding issue is going to be big yet again at the legislature. One of the sort of pieces of potentially good news is that, not good news, but lukewarm news is that the VOCA funds, which looked like they were in real dire straits, the latest forecast from OVC is that it's not as atrocious as it was, and we might have, we look to be stable at the very least moving forward, and there's a possibility that there might even be the teeniest of increases. So, you know, again, as Carol and I say, level funding is okay. We're not making cuts, but when that's been the case for, you know, upwards of 10 years, there really is cuts. So that's the funding piece, but I do want to put a piece of good news in. We finally found another grants person to work with Jean and the rest of the grants team, Carol and Christine. She really knocked this out. We just loved her. She comes from the Department of Education, and she's been doing grants management herself there, primarily working with the migrant population in schools and giving out grants and working with schools and also with UVM to try and ensure and improve services for the group of individuals. And you know, she's only got a couple of grants, but she does site visits and she could throw the jargon out. She used the term CFR and Code of Federal Regulations, but Carol was very pleased when that was thrown out there. So we're really excited. She starts on the 3rd of February and took a while to find someone, but certainly worth the wait. One of the pieces that we've been working on, and Amber King is on this meeting because we've been working together with staff and with our advisory council on developing a strategic plan. The process started in October, and we are in incredibly good shape. Amber, I don't know, have you met the board, or did you want to introduce yourself or a little bit about yourself? Or I don't, if the board, if they could introduce themselves, I'm not quite sure. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I don't know if I've like formally met everyone. I've been on the annual meetings and that's about it so far, but I'm Amber. I'm the training person here. Yeah, and I think I actually kind of know most of you. But...
Okay. I thought at some different point in time you've interacted with each of them, but wasn't quite sure since I know it's your first board meeting.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the strategic plan, or I mean, I'll let Amber take it away, but we did finalize a new vision statement, a new mission statement, develop goals and strategies, and I'll let Amber, I didn't send that document out yet because it's like hot off the press, so we'll give you some time to look at it later on. But Amber, I don't know if you want to explain, if you want to, read those or share those, or if you want to explain the timeline and where we're at and what we expect to accomplish in terms of adopting a final plan by June 30th.
Yeah, it's been a really fast process so far. We started with our facilitator back in November is when we had our first meeting with her and the staff. And at that point, we were looking at our vision and mission statement and kind of beginning to look at like overall goals for the center. After we had drafted those, we involved our advisory group, which is a group made up of survivors and victims here in Vermont. There are 6 of them currently, and they're all amazing. And she met with them without CCBS staff present to present them with what we had come up with so far. They had some feedback, and Kim, our facilitator, was able to incorporate that feedback into what the staff had put out. And then the working group we had for all of this, which was made up of, I'm going to say 4 staff members, we were able to approve that new version of the vision and mission statement. And then most recently, our staff looked at that again as a big group last week with the advisors. And together we were able to, it was easy with the vision statement. The mission statement, or the vision statement was easy. The mission statement, we did kind of change a little bit that day, but I think we all really like what we ended up with. It's actually up on our new website now as well. If you go to About Us, and then there's a mission and vision statement tab. And for the vision statement, we envision a Vermont where the voices of those impacted by crime are elevated and responded to with compassion, fairness, and justice. And then for a mission statement, we have the Center for Crime Victim Services offers support, advocacy, and services for those impacted by crime and works to hold those who have caused harm responsible. And the next steps is that we are gonna now, with like our new working group for key performance measures and key activities, we're gonna continue to look at that. We're going to have each unit at the center kind of look at pieces of the goals and the strategic plan that really apply to them and their department and come up with some key activities and performance measures. Then as a group, we're going to get together again and kind of refine that and hopefully work towards finalizing it. And once again, keep our advisors in this process as well, since they have a lot of input on like some of the key activities, especially that apply to survivors and victims here in Vermont. Yeah, and we're hoping to be done with all of this by the end of June. So I don't know if I'm missing anything, Jen.
No, like I said, I'll send out after this meeting where we're at, and we'll be presenting more as it becomes more fleshed out in terms of activities and performance measures. And we're really, really grateful to Amber for finding this amazing facilitator who clearly knew how to herd. I wouldn't say cast because we all were on the same page, but everybody does this work and is passionate about it. So we can be chatty, and we really are very surprised to be in the place that we're in so quickly. So it feels good to finally start talking about and proactively about our work versus always feeling like we're just reacting to what the latest thing is that's happened. So very excited about that. And again, we'll send you some pieces for you to look at and keep you in the loop as we get a little bit more specific. And then otherwise in my world, and Bob, we're in it. The legislative session has started. There's been some significant changes and also some changes in committee makeup, and just interested to see how that's going to play out. Testified last week and got a couple days in to testify this week. So not quite sure what to think yet, but we've got a few priorities that we're looking at. I've spoken about them before, which is reforming and expanding our victim notification system, working on some victims' rights provisions that I've been talking about with others and have in mind some new ideas after I was on a meeting last week. And then changing the increasing the hearsay rule that allows out of court statements of a child to come in from in certain cases from under 12 to under 16 to mirror the deposition rule. So those are our priorities, but there'll be a lot that we'll be responding to. So yeah, looking forward to getting started.
Jen, were your fingerprints, did I see your fingerprints on Martin Lalonde's bill to remove the sunset on the marriage license fee increase?
Well, that's the network's fingerprints, but we wholeheartedly support that. That's a critical piece. I mean, it's pennies to the legislature. And really every little thing that the DVSB fund can get at this point is critical. So.
Agreed. Yeah, good, great. Okay. Any other questions for Jen? The next thing on our agenda is always if there were a member of the public that was here, there would be an opportunity for public comment. But Mel, I assume that the only people that are here are the people we can see.
That's correct. We don't have any public members present today.
Okay. In that case, I think we can stop recording and go into our executive session or to decide. We have two cases to decide, I believe, right?
Yep, let me just close this. I don't know why this is